Hey, Orchinistas! Welcome to the channel Forever Orchids. My name is Tracy. Today is a really special day. I want to introduce you to a species paphiopedilum called spicerianum. And here it is in bloom. Oh, I'm so excited. I haven't had this plant very long. I got this plant in an orchid haul from Hauserman's a few months back. And I was so ecstatic when I got the plant because it was so large in this like 2.5 inch pot. I have another spicerianum that is green hat crossed with itself. And that was in about the same size pot, but the plant itself is so tiny. It's only like this wide. It's so tiny. So I was ecstatic when I got this lovely, gorgeous plant from Hauserman's. And then a couple months later, it started to push out a bloom spike. And here it is. Look at this bloom. Look at it. Is that not absolutely gorgeous? Gorgeous, gorgeous. Look at the top dorsal on this flower. This is one of the reasons why I absolutely love this species. I just think that is so attractive. Love it. Now, paphiopedilums do not have a smell in their flowers. They have a different way that they attract their pollinators, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. And let's talk about, first of all, where this species is normally found. It's found in parts of India, parts of China, Bhutan. Let's see, it's the Eastern Himalayas, and it normally grows on rock cliffs, limestone rock cliffs. It's a terrestrial orchid, which means it's not epiphytic, living in trees, on the side of trees, like your phalaenopsis, your cadleias, and a lot of many other orchids. This one is found underneath the tree canopy on the forest floors, or in this case, on some rock cliffs along stream beds where it gets a lot of moisture. It still likes to dry out, but it still gets a lot of moisture. So when I got this plant from Hauserman's, it is planted in bark and perlite. Now, what I do in my environment in the home is I decided to top dress it a little bit with sphagnum moss. Paphiopedilums do not like their roots exposed to the air, and they'll just stop growing. The roots possibly die. So I decided just let's put a little sphagnum moss on top, keep that moisture on those roots. And in a home environment, you don't have a lot of humidity, not as much as you do outdoors. So that was another reason why I put the sphagnum moss on top. It also helps me determine if the sphagnum moss is dry, probably time to water this particular orchid. Now I'm watering my orchid here. I've got 3 paphiopedilums, and I'm watering them about every 5 days, typically. A lot shorter time span than I do the cadleias and the phalaenopsis because they like moisture. So I want to keep them moist. Now this particular paphiopedilum, the leaves on it are a gorgeous, just shiny green. A lot of times you'll have mottled leaves on paphiopedilums, phragmipediums as well. And this species just has the solid green the solid green leaves. But let's talk about that lip. Look at this. Look at this lip. The lip here forms a pouch. Now, the way in nature this flower gets pollinated is there will be moisture from dew and rain that'll fill up this pouch. And then the insect will come and they'll fall down in there. And the only way for them to get out is to crawl up the back of the flower. And there are little hairs, and I'll give you a close-up picture. There's all these little hairs down in the back here, and they can use that to crawl up. And when they do, they'll come through the back of the flower here, through this back portion right here, and up into the pollen. And if you look at a close-up, let me try to get this close-up. If not, I'll take a still picture and you'll see. Okay, so well, it's a tiny flower and it's bouncing around, but there are little yellow dots in the center, and that's the pollinia, the pollen. So when the insect crawls up the back, they'll reach that pollen, and it'll get stuck on their back or something like that, and then they're able to get out of the flower. They'll move on to the next flower, start the cycle all over again, and they've got pollen this time from this flower on their body, and they'll transfer it to the next flower, and that's how these get pollinated. Here's my light conditions for my paphs. They are growing in an east window, and the blinds are down, but they're slightly open, so that way these will get the morning sun and no other sunlight, direct sunlight, during the rest of the day. I mentioned that they grow on rock cliffs. Usually limestone rock cliffs is where they can be found in the various regions across the Himalayas in India and China and Bhutan that they're found in. Now, limestone, and it's more like the dolomitic lime, that is a lot of, provides the plant a lot of calcium. So paphiopedilums love calcium. I mean, love it. And they really need it in their diet. So I'm giving this one some CalMag. Now, in one of the places that I volunteer at, we were having an issue with the paphiopedilums and the phragmipediums, and the leaves were turning brown. We'd cut the leaf off, and the next week we'd go in and they're still brown. And so we have started using a better quality water. We've been using rainwater instead of the city water, but we've also been trying to get some calcium in their diet. And you can do that by crushed oyster shells that you can add to your bark mixture. You can also use, like I said, the dolomitic lime. I'm actually going to be trying this. This I got from my local garden supply store. It's organic garden lime. This turns your hydrangeas pink. Well, guess what? It's also going to give calcium to your paphiopedilums. Now, I'm not affiliated with this brand at all. I just happened to notice that on the back of the bag, everything that it is listed in here, it says it is all derived from dolomite lime. So this is going to be great to just sprinkle on top of my paphs. And as I water them, they'll get that calcium and some other, let's see, I think there's some magnesium in here too. Yeah, there's calcium and magnesium. Calcium oxide, magnesium oxide, pure calcium, pure magnesium, calcium carbonate, magnesium carbonate, and let's see, anything else? They got a couple other ingredients in here that's just an effective equivalent, but I liked it because it was derived from the dolomite lime. Don't really have access to oyster shells to be able to put in my plant, so hopefully this is going to work and give them a little bit better calcium that they need. Let's see here else. What can we talk about this lovely, lovely, gorgeous plant? We've talked about how they're pollinated. We've talked about their culture. We've talked about what it's growing in now, how often I water them. I would really suggest that you get a Paphiopedilum spiceriana if you want to start getting yourself into another genus of orchids. These are relatively easy to grow. Now, the way they grow is they grow in a fan. These are fanned out leaves, okay? And they will put out a basal growth for the next season. So this plant here has 2 new growths on it. So here's the back one that has these really, really long leaves, and that's the one that has flowered. Then we've got 2 others here, and this one here with the new leaf here. Hopefully take that out and you can see that. Okay, and those are the new growths. Hopefully we'll be able to get some more flower spikes. Now you're only going to get 1 flower per spike, unfortunately. I don't know that I've ever heard of a Paph spicerianum that will branch off of the single inflorescence. And each flower is going to be different as well, because it's not really effective for commercial growers to mariclone paphiopedilums. It's difficult. When they are able to mariclone, they don't get a whole lot of seedlings from it. So typically your paphiopedilums and your phragmipediums are not maricloned. They are seed pollinated or cross pollinate. Just take the pollen out, put it into the next flower, let those seeds develop, take them to a lab, put them on some agar, and just propagate the flowers that way. So each flower is going to be different within that same seed capsule. Just like me and you are different, these are going to be different. So with that in mind, I've decided that this is my plant, this is my seedling. Now this is a first bloom seedling from Hausermann's, and I have decided that I'm going to call this Paphiopedilum spicerianum, and the cultivar name is going to be Forever, after this channel, Forever Orchids. So I just give you a quick little breakdown and introduction of Paphiopedilum spicerianum. Now, in several of my past videos, the last few that's been published within the last couple weeks, you may notice that over my shoulder here, there's all these plants back here on my pottery slab roller, because this is my pottery studio as well as a grow space for me. Well, one of the places that I volunteer at needed to move all of their orchids because they're renovating their greenhouse. And it's a very old antique greenhouse, and it's due for a renovation. So in helping them move all of their plants, there was one massive oncidium. And if I pronounce this incorrectly, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with this oncidium, but it is a species. It's Oncidium spatulatum. Grows like a weed, I'm being told. I believe it. I believe it. The plant, the mother plant that I took all these divisions off of, I'll put up a video of where I'm showing it hanging in the conservatory. It had to have been 4 feet wide and 3 feet tall, and pseudobulbs everywhere. Well, they were going all the way around the bottom of you get a hanging basket. What is that? Like a 10-inch hanging basket plastic pot? Well, that's what it was planted in, and had just grown on top of itself and underneath and everywhere. So the only way to take it down and be able to sit it on a bench in the temporary hoop house is we needed to take some divisions off the bottom of them. So we took a lot of divisions off the bottom. I picked out the best ones and I potted up 4, and I've got 2 more bare root, and I'm going to take them to my local orchid society and see if anybody would like to have those. But that's what all those plants are that you've seen in the background of several of the videos. I've also got some, I'm not familiar, it's another terrestrial orchid that I'm not familiar with, but it's called Sobralia. And I've got some of those bare root back there too, that I'm going to see if anybody would like to have some of those at the Orchid Society meeting that I'm going to go to. And that is all that I have for you today. I will upcoming be doing a video of what's in bloom, what's in spike, and show you some things that are coming up. I've got a lot of the orchids that were in several of my how to groom rescued orchids. I've got several of those that are now pushing out flower spikes. I've got the BC, and I've also seen it BSN, Maikai. I've got a couple of the Memoria Bernice Fosters, which are a Brassivola cross, Brassivola hybrid. And I've got those that are, I'm just waiting every day. I mean, I keep looking at the flower buds, and I keep seeing, color and spots, but they just quite haven't opened yet. I've got, let's see, that's 3 of them. And I've got another one that we just did a video on, the yellow one that's sitting back here. We've already talked about that in the previous video. Help me identify that one. Go back and watch that video and see if you can help me identify that. Let's see. Then I've got the really large white Cattleya with all the tag said was white with purple and yellow in the lip. Well, I am now starting to see it had 3 flower sheaths on it. I'm now starting to see the tiniest little buds starting to form in those sheaths and coming out. So I'm really excited about that one. So I've got some upcoming videos where we will be doing those. So please subscribe to the channel if you wish. Like the video, share the video, please. If you find any of the information that I'm sharing, share it with your orchid friends. And let's start this community of orchinistas. And until next time, guys, happy orchid growing. Bye.